Welcome to another edition of Making Happen. To my computer screen tonight, as a joke, we have it's not really a joke, but I have my friend Dorian Phillips. He is the the do you own your show? Do you own your own media company?
Yes, yes, yes. I own the show. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Dorian Phillips of Dorian P's Top 10 Countdown. We bring the best in underground music and hip hop, and just give artists the opportunity to have their music aired uh, on television. That's what we do best.
And Dorian, before you did this, what was your vision behind the show?
So, I mean, to be quite honest, the vision behind the show was really easy. There are a lot of music artists making music. And at the time, YouTube was one of those things that was somewhat popular. I can't say somewhat popular, it was very popular. 2011 is when the show began. But a lot of artists' music just stayed right there on YouTube. That was it. It was just YouTube and that was it. And so they didn't have any place to be seen outside of YouTube at the time. So I thought to myself, hey, see, a lot of these artists, they're making music videos, they have good quality content, they have a message, and they just need to be seen. And so I began reaching out to different artists to say, hey, how would you like to be seen on television? Explain the premise of my show, the Top 10 Video Countdown, very similar to old school 106 in Park, except we added a twist. What we would do with the show is we'd actually go to many events all across the country. I mean, we've been fortunate enough to attend the McDonald's High School All-American Games. We've attended the Jordan Brand Classic, the Dub Tour. Most recently, BET Weekend in LA. And so this is something that, we integrate into the show, showing footage from these events, allowing people to be able to get a chance to see how the events took place and some of the findings, and all while enjoying underground music videos and entertainment from underground artists.
And is this preferably Arizona or?
No, see, that's the best part about it. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So the one thing that I actually do is I help to bridge the gap between not only the Midwest, but the West. So we get music videos from all over. I mean, I've got music videos before from Australia of individuals who just want to be featured on the actual show. And so, no, we don't discriminate. We let everybody in the party.
And should I mention it's award winning because I met Dorian at the Midwest Music Festival about a year ago, right?
Yes,
Well,
yes,
a little
sir.
bit over a year ago, yeah.
A little bit over a year ago. That's exactly where I met you. Well, and you had just recently won an award yourself.
Yeah, I won an award of excellence myself. So.
And I said, wait a minute, I want to work with that guy. So I'm glad that this actually has gotten a chance to come to light, even in the midst of the pandemic.
So, what did you used to do before this?
I mean, not my 9 to 5, an insurance agent is what I am. So I sell healthcare insurance is one of those things. But I've always had a keen liking for video productions and entertainment and things of such like that.
So are you still do you still sell insurance?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, you got to pay the bills.
Have you ever thought about a music career yourself?
You know what? I love music. I love entertaining people. But me, you don't want me singing. You don't want me trying to rap. You don't want me doing any of that. So no, I personally have never thought about a music career or any of that. I try to leave that to the people who actually do it. Hold on, I got to get my lighting right here.
Okay.
Excuse me for the technical difficulties.
That's okay.
There we go. That's a whole lot better. Yeah. So no, I never thought.
Who's your favorite musical influence? Maybe rapper.
Well, believe it or not, it's Prince. Prince, in my opinion, was always able to.
Purple Rain, Purple Rain.
I mean, that's one song he's known for. What I loved about Prince is that he was able to take music and use music for what it's meant to do. It transcends all genres. It transcends all people, all ethnicity, cultures, and he was able to make people just feel good and actually lose themselves in whatever moment of time through his music. And so he just always has been
And
my favorite artist.
when I think about music too, I think about Michael Jackson, man.
Mm-hmm. Another artist that can do the exact same thing. There are very few artists that have the ability to be able to take you from where you are socially and be able to connect with not just you, but everyone at once. And, that's what both of those gentlemen did.
Mm-hmm. What's the upcoming future for the show?
Well, upcoming future for the show. So basically what we've actually done in the midst of the pandemic, we believe in bicycling our program. So
I know that you have a co-host.
Yes. Oh, Honey Rollins is my co-host. So what we do is we bicycle our program to different access centers just across the country. And what we allow them to do is actually pick up the show and actually have it air in their markets. We've also, as of a year ago, developed our own Roku station. So we can also be found on the Roku platform. The whole thing is just having a place where you can house all of your programming. So basically, Dorian P is just all about centralizing all of his material and putting it in one place for everybody to get. And then those who don't have access to the Roku players, we allow for the stations to pick it up so that way it can be seen across the country either way it goes.
What's a Roku player? Can you explain to me? Because I don't know much about Roku.
Sure. So a Roku is like an Amazon Fire Stick, Roku TV. They call it Roku TV. It has Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV. These are media streaming devices that allow you the opportunity to be able to put your content, up so everybody can see it. So imagine
when they is that when they talk about the free TV, when the infomercials tonight, the free TV, all you gotta do is plug in this stick and it works.
Yes. I mean, our app is indeed a free download.
Okay.
But the thing about it is, like, I think you can get I don't want to give too many prices and things such like that because I know you can't advertise.
Yeah.
But I definitely would say it is something that you can find at one of your nearest retailers, and the apps are actually downloadable at no cost to the general public.
When did your passion for music videos first start, or for music in general?
Oh man, you're talking 5, 6, 7. I mean, it was very young. For a lot of us, music is an escape, and it allows us to be able to escape some, very harsh realities, depending on where you come from. So I can remember being as early as 5 and trying to moonwalk like Michael Jackson. It was just one of those things that I actually enjoyed doing. And man, yeah, you just took me back. You just took me back there.
So being a black man, how has music influenced you growing up?
Well, so the genre of music I listen to is rhythm and blues, as well as hip hop. And for me, rhythm and blues, how could I say it? It gives you the opportunity to feel soulful, so to speak. Hip hop, to me, in a lot of instances, what it did for me is it allowed me to be able to see that a lot of the struggles that I may have had in my community, that I wasn't going through them alone. And so there were other people out there going through some of the same things. They were able to articulate their actual struggles throughout the actual music. And so for me personally, I use some of the hip hop artists growing up, like the Talib Kweli's, the Q-Tips, the Mos Defs, and others. And I use their music as a way to, stay focused and say, you know what, regardless of what the struggle is, there is a better tomorrow.
You think you were able to cope better through some of those issues?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that music does have the actual power to do. It has the power to allow all of us to be able to cope. And, regardless of what we're going through, you can put on a good song, and that very song can actually uplift you and make you feel a whole lot better. And it just all depends on how that song hits you at that moment.
Even if it's just for a little while, it takes you out of your reality, out of your world for a little while, because your world may not be so nice,
And that's all of us. And like when you really think about it, things tend to happen in just a split second. A split second, someone gets shot. In a split second, someone could be stabbed or whatever the case may be. or have a heart attack or whatever the case may be, whatever it is. Imagine if in that split second there was something to take your mind off of what was about to happen. We'd all have changed realities.
Hmm. So how have you adapted your show since the pandemic? Like, cause I've had to make changes. You've had to make changes. We've all had to adapt.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where the actual Roku comes in at. It does actually allow, and then as you can see, I'm on a green screen. Normally I am out and about, but now as you can see, I have a green screen behind me. Hey, where you can put up pretty much anything that you want. Sometimes the problem with the green screen is making sure that your lighting is right. As you guys can see, I'm having some lighting difficulties. But I have actually had to go to the green screen moniker and actually do my show from inside of like a live studio audience, which typically really isn't my thing because I'm used to being out with the actual people at the events.
Hmm. Now, switching topics a little bit, um, let's talk about the the riots in Kenosha and just the riots all over the place. Since you're my friend, I totally support you, and I believe that Black Lives Matter. But how is it? Since you're from Wisconsin and everything, I know you're out in Arizona, but I know it must deeply hurt you and affect you.
Well, it's heartbreaking knowing what's going on in Kenosha right now. The one thing I can tell you is I don't subscribe to any riots. I do understand why certain things happen. But I will say this, it's very heartbreaking just looking at things from a national level and seeing how things all across the country are actually being handled. And as a people, sometimes things don't go the way that you want them to go. And as a result, people tend to act out or lash out. So all I say is to everyone, be safe, be careful. To my
Actually,
brothers.
actually, I understand why they do it, but it's really not solving anything.
No, it doesn't solve anything. To me, it's the equivalent of a child throwing a temper tantrum. But
We
sometimes
we
that
need to have
child,
our lawmakers step up and do something.
of course, 100%. And in order to get the right people in office, I will actually say this: we all have to go out there and do our part, and let's get out and vote as well.
Yeah, yeah. I just like I said, you being from Wisconsin, I just want to get your input, and
Oh yeah.
I know that I know that black people get mistreated and judged all the time, and I just can't believe all the rioting that's going on. Not even Kenosha, but nationwide, because Seattle too had some, and
Mhm.
all over the place. So.
I think a large part of it is, and especially with what's going on with the police right now, in my opinion, it's hard to police a people you know nothing about. Um, and the reason why I say that is because you don't know how they're going to behave. You don't know what's considered just talking. You don't know their backgrounds. If all you see of a person is, or a people, is what you see on television or in movies, you don't understand. I mean, it would be like me talking about handicapped people or gays or lesbians. If I don't understand their background, it, regardless of what I say, it's with a lack of knowledge. So I believe that in order for police officers to be able to police a community, that those police officers have to not only spend time in that community, I believe they have to be from that community. Because if they're from a community, they understand exactly what to expect out of the community, 100% hands down.
Do you
Now,
think do you think they need better training?
of course, there has to be better cultural training all the way across the board. And
Uh,
to be quite honest, I also think that, I mean, in cities like Kenosha and some of the major cities across the country, maybe we need to do a buddy system. You know, maybe if I'm an African American cop on the force, maybe I need to be with one of my Caucasian brothers and we go out together and work the beat together and begin to get not only understanding for one another and one another's culture, but what we're dealing with. No one ever thinks about that. I mean, and I know we hear a lot of stuff about, hey, we need to defund the police and this, that, and the other. Yeah, we defunding the police, in my opinion, isn't the biggest thing. It's just allocating those funds in other areas. So if those funds are going to go toward cultural training, then hey, that's going to make this world or our communities a better place for each and every one of us.
Because even though I'm your friend, I don't completely understand because I'm not black.
Mm-hmm.
I sympathize with you, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
completely understand, just like you don't completely understand about my disability.
100%, 100%. You couldn't have said it best. So it's like we're friends. We sympathize with each other, and we care about each other, but we don't understand the shoes that each of us walk. However, through conversations, that understanding can be enhanced.
Yes. But yeah, did you ever think you would see the rioting in the middle of a pandemic? I mean, we have a global pandemic going on, plus all this other stuff.
No, never in 100 years. I think we'd see something like this.
Is this like a little? Is this like a big revolution going on? Yeah, in a way.
I wouldn't say it's a revolution.
What do you think Dr. King would say about this?
What do I think Dr. King would say about this?
Yeah.
Well, I think, to tell you the truth, I believe if Dr. King was around, there'd be a little better direction. But I mean, because there were riots in the 60s. I mean, it happened. The thing about it is, I think that he'd probably want to see a nonviolent protest. But, you know, how can I say this without really stepping on too many toes? It's I'll say it like this. Jesus once said in the Bible, if someone hits you, to turn the other cheek.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Dr. King lived by.
Because you kind of got to be the bigger man, right?
Yes, but if you ever look at that same scripture, a lot of people stop right there. But if you dive deep, you'd say, well, what happens if they hit the other cheek? Well, if you notice, Jesus stopped giving instructions. So if you hit a guy on one side and he turns the other cheek, and then you hit him again on the other side, he's got no more cheeks to turn. So at that time, he's going to actually pick up his fist and defend himself. And so I believe that what we're seeing in the riots with, some of the people giving backlash to this and the other, is just see people who's tired. Like, what do you do? Like if you're complying or you don't comply and the outcome is the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm going to get the same, and I say this, if my jail sentence is the same whether or not I comply, I might as well not comply. A lot of these young men, they're complying and they're still being shot down. I mean, I look at it.
I mean, look at Jacob Blake, right? He was just trying to get away from the scene, maybe. But and I know they wanted to stop him, but he didn't deserve to get shot 7 or 8 times in the back.
He could have been tased. He could have been tackled. This all goes into the protocol and the training. I mean, look, we have Breonna Taylor. She was sleeping in her own house, and the cops came in with a no-knock warrant and killed her.
And that shouldn't have been, because that's not who they were looking for.
Not who they were looking for at all. But so, and then you have George Floyd was another guy in Minnesota. 8 minutes and 46 seconds, a guy puts his knee on someone's neck.
And he said he can't breathe. At what point do you stop? What point is enough?
That's the question that African Americans are asking white America. At what point is enough enough? So you hit it right on the head. We're trying to figure it out, because we can only comply so much. We can only do so much. And if we do what you tell us to do and you still kill us anyway, why comply?
That'd be no different than if somebody beat me or shot me when I was wheeling somewhere.
Mm-hmm. It's the same. It's the same thing. And listen, with the whole Jacob Blake situation, how much of a threat is this guy with his 3 kids in the backseat of a car? Regardless of what you think, he's not going to go in there and get a gun.
No.
He's not going to go in there and get a knife. His 3 kids are right there.
But you know what? They have to live with that for the rest of their lives. If they remember that, they have to live with that.
Sure.
The emotional damage.
Mm-hmm. So. Mm-hmm. You sitting there watching your father get gunned down, not shot once, And he hasn't died, not shot once, but he was shot 7 times in his back.
What
7.
what message do you have for lawmakers?
Well, lawmakers, I would just tell them straight, like, look at what's going on. Like, King proved in the '60s that there'd be times where people could just stand there and they would still get water hoses and dogs at them. Here we are in 2020, and we've seen instances where people are complying with the law and they're still being shot down.
Mm-hmm.
We have to change this system. That's and if cops aren't willing to do it, then you need to step in and set the laws for them to say, hey, this is what you're going to follow. This is what we're not going to stand for. And until that happens, we're going to continue to have cops do the exact same thing.
Don't you agree with me though? It starts with better training by the cops and they need better education so they can understand.
I mean, that's one place it starts, but I won't be real with you. I personally believe racism starts at home, and that's what a lot of this is a result of racism.
So you think the parents taught?
Let's just say I think we all have certain things that we grew up with, stigmas, and those stigmas were taught in the household, and as a result of those stigmas, when we become adults and those stigmas have not been addressed, they become our reality. And so I think that's a large part of it. So we as a people have to understand that, hey, if you cut any of us, we all bleed red.
Yeah.
We all bleed red. My skin tone.
We all have the same blood. I mean, you might have a different skin color, but that doesn't make you better than me.
That's it. I feel that way 100%. My skin tone doesn't make me better. Your skin tone doesn't make you better. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. And in this world, I like to believe that the most valuable thing in the world is human life. Because once it's gone, we can never get it back.
Okay, I'm going to get real deep on this subject, but what would you change? You know, because you said it starts at home, but let's say if you don't have a good upbringing and okay, where does the school system dive in and do they teach them a course, you know, on Black American history, or how do you go about that?
So this is the thing. There's two things that I wouldn't expect. One, I wouldn't expect a suburban school to teach a Black history course. I wouldn't. I mean, I went to school in Wauwatosa. I've never, and I do mean never, I've never had a Black history course in Wauwatosa. Never. But then again.
Oh, living in Wauwatosa, were you ever, being a Black man, were you ever discriminated against?
Well, I didn't live in Wauwatosa, but going to school in Wauwatosa, there are countless times that I was discriminated against. I believe that the whole system. I won't hit on that too much.
Okay.
All I will say is this, and I'm perfectly fine with saying this on camera. You're looking at a young man or an adult male who has been suspended over 250 times in the Wauwatosa School District. Over 250 times in an 8-year span, I was suspended from school. And for some people, you would think, okay, that guy's going to translate into a criminal life. But I've never once been to jail. I don't have a criminal record.
May I ask why 250 times? Is that because you were standing up for yourself?
It was a misunderstanding, which goes back to what we were talking about as far as cultures. Mm-hmm. And understanding this is how these individuals, they may express themselves, or these things may happen, that may happen. And so, I mean, I've been suspended for insubordination so many times, I done ran out of toes and fingers to count on. But insubordination can be the slightest thing, from what I learned growing up, in a teacher's eyes.
250 times. Wow, I would have never known.
Over 250 times. And the thing about it is, I'm proud to say it. I am very proud to say it, because where I started at in life, or according to what people deem me as what they would say a troubled youth, did not become my outcome. Mm-hmm. Now I sit back and I'm able to do things like my hip hop show. I'm able to do community speaking, and I'm able to tell other young men that, hey, regardless of what you're going through in life right now or where people may see you, that's not where you're going to end up. You dictate your path. You dictate where you go. And so that's one of the things that I have no problem sharing with anyone. And what's even funny is, I'm not going to lie to you, Ed. A few years ago, I, I said, oh, people won't believe me that I've been suspended that many times in school. So I actually went to the Wauwatosa School District to try to pull my records, my grades, every time I've been suspended. And they said, oh, no, it's been too long ago. We don't have that. And I said, man, I wish you did. Simply because that would just be the evidence of the testimony.
Mm-hmm. What would you say to a young black man now that is, or even a young black child, either male or female? What would you say to them about all this rioting and violence? If you had a message for them,
it gets better. It gets better.
And if they said, Dorian, how does it get better? How does it get better?
I'd say it just like this. At one point, we had ancestors that were beat, got their foots chopped off. They couldn't, just for the ability to be able to read. They couldn't get the jobs that they wanted. They couldn't go to the schools that they wanted to go to. They couldn't live in the parts of society that they wanted to live in. But through time and voting and everything just got better. People change. This world changes. The one thing that you cannot do is allow yourself to just say, oh, this is all that it is, and this is all that it will be. You got to go out there, and sometimes you may have to be that voice of someone who may not be able to say the things that they need to say, but you can say them. And as you say them, you can speak not just for yourself, but a whole nation of people that can't talk. And that's how we get like the Kamala Harris. That's how we get guys like the Joe Bidens. That's how we get Barack Obama. Simply because of just that right there. It's somebody decided to take up the voice of a people who haven't talked at all or don't know what to say.
In the last 43 seconds here, if somebody wanted to start their own business, because with your show now, it's not just you're making money from it, but if somebody wanted to start their own show, what would you give for quick advice?
Equipment?
No, just for quick advice.
Quick advice, do your research. It will save you a lot of money. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of trial and error with the right equipment, your formats and different things and such. If you know what it is you want to do ahead of time, before you actually begin to execute your plan, it just works out a whole lot better. So do your research, know a little bit about the industry, know what equipment you want to use. And at the end of the day, I hope that you have a product that everyone else.
All right. Well, thanks, Dorian.